What happens in the brain when we learn English? To answer this question, we need to look at bilingualism not only as a language skill, but also as a cognitive and neurological process.
Learning English is usually seen as learning grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and communication skills. But from neurolinguistic perspective, learning English is also a brain process. When we learn a second language, our brain does not only memorize new words, it also practices attention, memory, and language control and flexible thinking. In this video, we will explore how bilingualism can influence the brain and the way we think. We also connect academic research with real classroom experience from teachers at Buckingham English Center. What is bilingualism? Bilingualism does not mean speaking two languages perfectly. A bilingual person can use two languages in different situations and with different levels of proficiency. For example, a student may use Spanish at home but English in class, online at work, or when watching movies and listening to music. According to Bilingualistic, Wright and Luke, bilingualism can have consequences for the mind and the brain because bilingual speakers manage two language systems. What happens in the brain? When a student learns English, Spanish does not simply disappear. Both languages can influence each other. This means that the brain needs to select the correct word, choose the correct structure, and control interference from the first language. For example, a Spanish speaker may want to say, I have 20 years, because in Spanish we say, tengo 20 años. But in English, the correct form is, I'm 20 years old. This shows that learning English requires more than translation. It requires language context.
Neuroplasticity. Another important concept is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity means that the brain can change through learning, experiencing repeated practice according to Lee, Legal, and Lipovsky. Second language learning is connected to the neuroplasticity because learning another language can be associated with change in the brain. This does not mean that English magically changes the brain in one day. It means that repeated practice can help the brain adapt. Every time a student listens, speaks, read, or write in English, the trained brain, the process, makes sounds, words, grammar patterns, and meanings. Executive functions. Learning English can also be connected to executive functions, are mental skills that help us focus, remember information, control distractions, and switch between tasks. In English, learning students use attention when they listen, memory, when they remember vocabulary, innovation, when they try to adapt to Spanish, interference, and flexibility when they move between Spanish and English. Research suggests that bilingualism may support some cognitive skills such as attention and flexibility. However, these benefits are not automatic for every bilingual person. The brain areas. The bilingual brain uses different brain areas. Some areas are related to language, in others are related to control, memory, and decision making. For example, the left inferior frontal gyrus helps with language selection only and word production. The anterior cingulate cortex related monitoring conflict. The caudate nucleus cingulate cortex in which language control and switching. The temporal areas help with listening and comprehension. The hippocampus is important for the memory and learning. This shows that English learning involves memory, attention, control, and communication. Now that we have explained the theory, we want to connect with real classroom situation. In the experiment to do this, we interviewed teacher Luis Soria from Buckingham English Center. This answer helps you understand how English learning is observed in real students, not only in academic articles.
Good morning, teacher. We are here working on an academic project about bilingualism and the brain. So, do you give us permission to record this short interview and use it only for educational purposes?
No problem.
Okay, so in your experience, what changes do you usually notice in students when they start learning English as a second language?
It's the way that they think about. The first thing that comes to my mind is the way the students communicate themselves, and one of the effects that you'll notice as the people here in Ecuador is when a person starts learning English, you notice that person start using Spanish, because most of the teenagers nowadays using Spanish because the culture is changing.
Okay, and how do you think learning English helps a student develop skills like attention, memory, or mental flexibility?
English helps in all the directions and just emphasizing the memory. You have to change your mind, you have to change your tip and the way they have to stop thinking in Spanish, but then remember what you learned a long time ago in English. So in this case, that when you're learning not only English but learning any language, that helps you.
Okay, thank you so much. This is all for our interview.
Thanks to you guys.
The teacher answers shows that learning English is not only about grammar and vocabulary. In the classroom, students also practice attention, memory, confidence, pronunciation, and language control. This connects directly with the theory of bilingualism because the bilingual brain needs to manage two language systems and use cognitive control. Bilingualism might bring different benefits. First, it can support communication because the students interact with more people and access to more information. Second, it can support cognitive flexibility because the students learn to move between two linguistic systems. Third, it might contribute to cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve means that the brain may become more resistant to cognitive decline over time. However, we need to say this carefully. Bilingualism doesn't prevent dementia and doesn't make you automatically more intelligent. A more accurate idea is that bilingualism gives the brain constant mental practice. Finally, we choose Buckingham English Center because it's a real example of how learning happens in practice. Here students listen, speak, make mistakes, correct themselves, and compare their first language with the second language. In conclusion, learn English as a second language can change the way we think because it trains the brain to manage two language systems.